Hi everybody. What inspires me to make this video, which I'm titling Are you an emotional slave? I was inspired to speak about that by a video that I watched on YouTube recently of a woman complaining of parental estrangement. And then of course, as you watch one video, then YouTube starts throwing at you a bunch of other videos under that same subject. And then I came across several videos. I didn't realize this is such a widespread problem of parents complaining of parental estrangement, meaning their children alienate them from their lives. And I personally have this problem with one of my children. I have two daughters, and I get along great with my older daughter. But the younger daughter decided she makes it very clear that she doesn't want to have a relationship with me. She doesn't necessarily keep me out of her life. Like if I try to approach her, she doesn't refuse my approach or tell me on my face that she doesn't want anything to do with me. But the way she acts, that's very clear to me. And if I don't contact her, then she won't contact me either. So I decided to make peace with that. And okay, you don't call me, I don't call you either. You don't write me, I don't write you either. And so if you don't want me in your life, I will respect that. Because what am I going to do? This is, I believe in my case, it has to do with my divorce. At the time, she was probably 11. And her father, my ex-husband, managed to alienate me from her life. And we had a bitter custody battle. And he ended up staying with her. She ended up staying with him by her own choice. And the other one stayed with him initially, but then she came back to me. She didn't manage to live with him like I didn't either. Anyway, so he was able to keep this younger daughter, and I believe he completely influenced her in the way she feels about me. And I think that's a very common problem. A lot of married couples go through divorce, and then one parent alienates the other parent from the couple's children's life, which is very sad. But anyway, so this happened to me with this daughter, and in the beginning I try to keep contact with her, but eventually I realized she didn't want it either. It was not only him influencing her, because it took about a couple years. Eventually she turned 13, 14, 15, and then I realized that she herself didn't want anything to do with me. And it could have been because of whatever he told her about me. I'm sure it was a bunch of lies. But still, she has a head of her own with a brain that she can use and think for herself, right? So when I realized that, I decided that I was not going to suffer over that anymore. So I said, okay, well, when she grows up, things will change. But things didn't change. She did grow up. She has her own daughter right now. And so she makes it very clear she doesn't want to be part of my life, at least not on a regular basis, maybe like once a year. She comes around, or I go around her for holidays. She's married now, and she lives in her husband has an adopted grandmother, and he lives in her house. Not in the same house. They have like a two-story house, and he has his own apartment built for him in the basement of the house, and the grandmother lives in the upper floor. Very nice lady. She likes to adopt people, and she adopted my daughter's husband when he was, I don't know how young he was when it happened. Anyway, so that's the situation. And so every time I come around them, I don't like the way she treats me. I don't like the way she acts towards me. And I can see her father influence 100% on that. And because I didn't like the way he treated me either. And so she does the same. But anyway, the point is, she has a mind of her own that she can use, and she chose to use in this manner. So what am I going to do? I am certainly not going to die over that. I'm not going to make myself unhappy and miserable because of that. I went through maybe 2 years of misery over that a long time ago, until one day, I used to cry every day. I cried every day over this while it was happening. But at some point in time, I decided that I was not going to cry anymore. And thank God I made that decision, because why should I cry over somebody who doesn't deserve my tears? I mean, I'm not doing that. That's not affecting them in any way at all. It's not helping the situation. It's just debilitating me and make me very unhappy. So as time went by and I learned lessons in life and books that I read and people that I heard and teachers included, counselors and all that, I finally make this decision that I was not going to let anybody to decide the way I feel. Because if I do that, or if you do that, if we do that, then we are their slave, their emotional slave. So when I saw this video of this woman complaining of suffering parental estrangement from her child or children, and then I came across a whole bunch of videos on YouTube about people having the same problem, I got inspired, even because I also left a comment in her channel. I thought I was helping her with my comment, but she got upset over my comment. So basically my comment was, do not let anybody decide how you're going to feel by the way they behave. Otherwise you're going to be their slave. You're an emotional slave. And your happiness is completely dependent on other people's behavior. So that was my comment, because that's what I believe, that's the conclusion I arrived. And since I arrived to this conclusion, I made the decision I was not going to let anybody's behavior to decide how I feel. I decide how I feel. My happiness is my own responsibility. My happiness is my property. I own my own happiness, right? It's my own obligation, nobody else. So I decide, I make the decision how I feel. I have control over my own feelings. And if I'm going to let, wow, somebody went wild by. Somebody just went by wildly. I guess it was a motorcycle. Anyway, so I made that decision in my life, and that has been a while ago. Anyway, so I left this comment in this woman's video that said, don't let people's behavior decide how you're going to feel. Otherwise, you're their emotional slave. She didn't like that. So she responded back, oh, don't come to preach on my channel, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, preach? Really? I thought I was helping you, bitch. Okay, let's strike that. I didn't say that. I said preaching. I thought I was helping you. I'm sorry that I even tried. Okay, whatever. Feel however you want then. Bye. And then I deleted all the comments, because, I mean, now I'm letting this woman decide how I feel, right? So I said, no. Okay, fine. I'm not going to have comments on people's videos anymore, because you try to help them and they don't want to be helped. Anyway, so my point here in this video is this, guys. I know how it feels to be alienated by a child. But I cannot allow other people's behavior to decide if I'm going to be happy or not, if I'm going to enjoy my life or not, you know what I mean? Because if I do that, then I am indeed everyone's slave, and I'm doomed to be unhappy and to be miserable, right? Because we have absolutely zero control over other people's actions. What control do I have on other people's behavior? None. But I do have control over my own behavior, over my own feelings, and over my own decisions. So I made the choice that I was going to be happy no matter what. And if I don't have any reason to be happy, I'm going to make up one. I'm going to look for things that will cheer me up, because that's my goal. My goal is to enjoy my life in the best way I can, no matter what circumstances around me, right? I know it's easier said than done, and trust me, I have my moments. I have my moments of upsetness. I just had an upsetting moment here because I caught my neighbor letting her dog piss on my vase outside. And I think that's absolutely 100% lack of common sense, right? I mean, the dog is on a leash. You can just pull the leash, right? But she didn't do that. So I'm going to wait for it to happen again. And if it does, then I'm going to go step outside and I'm going to tell her, please don't let your dog piss on my vases, on my plant vases. Even because these are vases that are there now temporarily, because when the weather gets cold, I'm going to have to bring the vase in. And I don't want dogs pissed, smelling inside of my apartment, you know. I love dogs. I love dogs, and I used to have dogs all my life. But the last dog I had died a little over a year and a half ago now. And it totally broke my heart, and I decided I don't want to have dogs anymore. I don't want to cry over the loss of them anymore. And I really cannot afford it, you know, and it's expensive to have dogs these days, you know. And I don't want to have to pay pet deposit. I don't want to have to deal with if I end up having my own property one day in the future, which I don't think is going to happen, but who knows, right? It could happen. If that happens, then I will consider having a dog again. But while I'm renting, and as I am aging, I just don't want to deal with having to take care of a dog anymore. I mean, I do love them and I do miss their companionship. I'm not going to lie, but I will be okay. Like I said, I choose every day, and that's a choice that I make intentionally every day, how I'm going to feel. And I cannot let, like this woman letting her dog piss on my vase definitely upset at me. And I went outside and I watered the vase with some water can that I have, because I don't have a hose, and even if I did, I don't have where to hook it up outside. But I watered the vase with a water can, and hopefully it's going to rain soon, and the rain will also help to clean it. But yeah, so you see, we have situations in our life, everyday moments here and there, like we are driving and then somebody does something upsetting, you know. And I still work on it. I'm not perfect with this decision that I made yet. Yeah, when I'm driving, some people do something, you know, stupid in traffic. I get a moment of, you know, irritation. But I catch myself and I said, no, I'm not going to let this spoil my day. I'm going to just get it over it, you know. So, and that's what I was inspired. That's why I was inspired to make this video, to share, you know, that it's a decision we have to make. Happiness is a collection of moments every day in our lives, happy moments. You know, happiness is a collection of happy moments that we live every day in our life, right? And if we are going to let everything and everyone to spoil these moments on a regular basis, I mean, it will happen. We can't escape that. But we have the power to decide that I'm not going to let this spoil my day. I'm not going to let this spoil my life. And I'm not going to let others decide how I feel. I decide how I feel, and I choose well-being. I choose happiness because my health depends on that. Okay, because diseases begin with unhappiness, really. You know, it's because of unhappiness that we eat toxic food. It's because of unhappiness that we hang out with toxic people, because we are lonely and we feel that we have to settle for companionship no matter how bad it is. I don't think like that anymore. You know, I am happy with my own being. If I'm gonna be alone for the rest of my life, then so be it. I'm gonna find a way to be happy with whatever circumstances are thrown at me. So this is the inspiration that I had to make this video, and I hope I can help somebody to also make this decision. Obviously not this lady. And I was surprised to see a bunch of parents. It's very sad to see how common this problem is, that parents and grandparents are alienated. But you know, karma is a real thing. Karma is also known as divine justice. Man's justice is fallible, but not God's justice. Divine justice is unfallible, and that is called karma. And one day their own children will do the same to them, and then they will feel how they made others feel, because that's how you learn not to do something again. It's when you feel the same way you made others to feel. Like my daughter right now, one day her own daughter will probably do the same to her. I don't wish that for her. I wish her the best. I hope she can find happiness in her life, whatever she understands of happiness, you know. But you know, she's still young, and I think eventually when she gets older, like when she turns 40 and then 50, she will then realize what really matters in life, and the right way and the wrong way of thinking and feeling and believing, just like I also did, you know. But you know, in my growing up, I didn't get along with my mother because I didn't like the way she treated me. But I could never reject her because I knew she had her own issues, and I understood that. You know, she wasn't necessarily abusive, but she treated me in a cruel manner, emotionally cruel, you know, not physically. She never abused me in any physical manner. But it was also because she was jealous of my relationship with my godmother, which she was the one who pushed me to that, because the way she treated me made me want to go have another relationship with another woman, and that was my godmother. And so it was a a sad situation out of ignorance, you know, and I forgave her a long time ago. But I could never alienate my mother from my life. Never. I could never do that. I don't know. It's just not within my being. Thank God. My parents also divorced when I was a teenager, and my dad never did that. My mother actually was the one who used to talk all kinds of crap about my dad. But I love my dad regardless of his defects of character and issues and all that. I loved him regardless, you know. And same thing with my mom. I loved my mom, and I still do, regardless of her defects of character, you know. And I'm glad I made that decision, and eventually she apologized to me. I had forgiven her way long before that, and we hugged and we cried together, and so she left the world in good terms with me. And her spirit even appears to me sometimes. When I say appears, not physically, but I feel the presence, and I hear her, you know, a voiceless speaking to me, and we carried out very pleasant conversations already. So I hope I have inspired someone to make the decision not to let anyone decide how you're going to feel, and take charge of your own happiness and your own feelings. and also exercise forgiveness. Even if that person doesn't deserve forgiveness, you don't have to go to them and tell them you forgive them. In your heart, everything has to do with karma. Maybe in a previous life I was a bad daughter, a bad mother. I'm sure. I have lived many lives. My spirit, my soul has lived many lives. So I am sure I have done things in my life in the past lives that I made others feel the same way I felt through these circumstances today in my life, up to this moment. So everything can be traced down in karma, and I do that through Vedic astrology. It's a wonderful tool. I highly recommend. It's a karmic astrology. We can see our karma, literally. We can see our karma, and that was very healing to me also. In addition to all the other learnings that I had, Vedic astrology is one of the teachings that helped me tremendously. It was to understand that it's all traced back in karma in previous lives, and once you understand that, then you can make peace with the situation, you know what I mean? And then everything is good, and then you just move on and hope for better days. And that's what I would like to inspire you with this video, and I hope I have helped somebody. Bye for now, until next time.